The honor for me to introduce Jared Allen, as you guys know. Really, really special. I don't have to go into the reasons why we love this game. There's thousands of reasons, but I mean, here's just a small sample size over here. I mean, Pat Williams, one of our favorite teammates, comes all the way up to share this moment. Jasper's here, Randall's here, and it's really cool when you think about it. We walk away from this game, and you're like, we have teammates, we have friends for life, and I'm a kid from South Dakota, Jared's from California, we have Louisiana, and we all come together in a locker room, and we fight for one common goal, and we have a hell of a time doing it, and we make a lot of friends. So really special that they're here today. It's hard not to look at Jared's career and what he's done without looking at certain numbers. So let's start with the most important number, and that's 69. 69 is like, everybody understands, it's sort of the tongue-in-cheek homage to his personality. He's gregarious, he's fun, he's playful, but his play on the field was anything but that. It was juxtaposed by his tenacity, his intensity, and his in-your-face style. So I think it's a perfect contrast between, his little tongue-in-cheek joke with his jersey number versus the way that he played the game. So let's go through a few other numbers. The number one, I didn't know this, 2011 Defensive Player of the Year, Sporting News. I actually didn't know that you got that award, so that's huge. Number four is the number of All-Pros. 5 is the number of Pro Bowls in his career. 12 is the number of years played in the NFL, along with his ranking on the all-time sack list. Obviously, that's the reason why we're here. 136, that's the total number of sacks. I mean, that is an incredible, incredible number of getting to the quarterback. And I think this is maybe the most important stat that he doesn't get credit for, is 228. That's the number of quarterback hits that he had in his career. When we look at film and we break down games, I mean, yes, we want to get the splash plays, as we would call it, but it's a lot of the things that don't always show up in the grade book. And being relentless and being disruptive was the name of his game. And I think that number really, is a great example of how tenacious he was. But I think in all of this, when we talk about numbers, all of us play this game because we want the respect of our peers. I think if you ask any guy that plays at a high level, yeah, it's not about the money that we've made. It's not about the stats. It's not about the sacks. It's not about this and that. It's knowing that you can walk into the training room, the locker room, the position room, and know that the guys sitting next to you respect your game and respect who you are. And I think this is just a few examples of the respect that Jared's gotten over the years. Chad Greenway says that he looks at his career and he says, he's got a lot of things going for him, but he respects his grittiness. Like, he was truly a gritty player before it became popular by the other team in our division. Aaron Rodgers says that he was a game wrecker. I mean, that's a hell of a compliment right there. Eli Manning says he's a tremendous player, but he remembers him having a big smile on his face. And I think that also is the way that you play the game. Relentless, smiling. Again, maybe not against Detroit, because I heard you cuss a lot of those guys out all the time. But you still had fun doing it. Greg Olson says he played with a toughness and relentless style. And Mike McCarthy says he's smart, intellectual, disciplined, and a true class act. And that's really what he is. I will add in there that one of the fiercest competitors I've ever played with and played along with. And he's one hell of a Yahtzee player. So he can tell you more about that. So it's my honor to introduce Pro Football Hall of Fame class of 2025, Jared Allen.
I gotta get Ben to come with me everywhere. From Ring of Honor, he's gonna let's vote for him for governor. Can we get governor? I appreciate being here. It's always fun. It's surreal. Coming back to Minnesota is always a good time. It's one of those places that is always, ever since I got here, felt like home. And I think that's a testament to the organization, to the community, and just the overall vision of how we play football here. And so it's just it's tremendous. So to be able to go into the Hall of Fame as a Viking is great. Although the podium setups are a little awkward. You really got to lean, don't you? So again, Ben, you said a lot of kind words. I appreciate it. Pat, Randall, Jasper, everybody, Colin, being here. I've actually, it's funny you say that, football is about it. There's a connection, right? Like people don't even know this. I'm connected to Randall via not even just the Vikings. He actually played at Arizona State, where I lived in Arizona in my off season for being there 15 years, but played with my financial advisor, one of my best friends, Jeff White. I think he's a couple years younger than you, right? Whitey is not very much. He's getting up there, and so that's the greatest part about football. The greatest part about football is not. It's honestly, like Ben's not saying, it's not what you do on the field, right? It's the stories that you get to talk from the generations that pass down. I think that's what I'm most excited about this whole Hall of Fame journey. Because if anybody knows me, and I've said it before, people have told me, oh, the gold jacket will change your life. It's not changing my life. I'll be honest with you. It's just a bigger pain in the butt because I got to be a bunch of places that I would rather be at home, coaching my kids volleyball. I had to get on a flight at 5:50 this morning. Thanks, Tom West. So it's awesome. I joke now, honoring means you do a lot of stuff you don't want to do for free. That's what that means. That's what Hall of Fame means. But all serious aside, I think it's the relationships. I'm looking forward to hearing, like I heard a story about Randall from Eric Allen. And that's one of my biggest takeaways from the Super Bowl weekend about how he started, playing guard. He played tight end when he came at ASU, and they got their butts kicked so bad they put all the backups in, and they made Randall play guard at like 230. And now he's a NFL Hall of Fame guard. He's one of the best guards to ever play this game. Like that's what sports does, right? Sports puts you in positions you out of your comfort zone and forces you to succeed. It forces you to find ways. And so that's what I love about it. I love the stories that I'm about to get to hear. I love the stories that I'm about to share, and not about me, but about my fellow teammates, about the journey of this game. So with that further ado, again, I do want to thank the Vikings. They've been nothing but class act support. Mark, I know we had our ups and downs over 5 years of trying to get this thing done, but I do want to say thank you. I know I've heard a lot of great things that you really went to bat for me this year. I really appreciate it. And when you get to see behind the curtain a little more, you realize that the process isn't always as friendly as you want it to be. That there's a whole bunch that goes into it. And so I just want to make sure I thank you personally, and especially in front of everybody, that just, for constantly battling and fighting to get me where I wanted to be. Obviously, this is a great honor, but I know the process isn't easy, so I really appreciate that. And with that, questions?
Is there a moment that you remember when you think of your time as a Viking? What's on the cover of the book about Jared Allen's?
Oh, honestly, first getting here. That's why I'm glad Pat's here, because I couldn't understand a word he said. No joke. Dunbar, Pat, and Kevin picked me up, right? Those are the 3 largest human beings I've ever seen in my life. And they pick me up at the airport, and I get into the car, and they're all from Louisiana. Kevin's from Arkansas, and Pat's doing all the talking, and I don't speak Pat yet. So I got nothing to say. He's got a gold chain and a neck tattoo, and I got a cowboy hats, and I'm like, we're gonna be best friends. I think this is how it's gonna happen. And so yeah, I had to learn to talk Pat, and we went to Redstone, and I just stared at his mouth for like in a non-creepy way, and I'm just like, what is this dude saying? But I like it. It's provocative. But no, I think that's what it was. I think from the minute I got here, there was an expectation. Ben said I'm one of the fiercest competitors. I am as competitive as they come, and it was brought to another level walking into that room. The minute I got in that car, him and Kevin started talking trash about how I couldn't play the run. And I'm like, I just had 80 tackles. What are you talking about? So every year, my goal wasn't worry about sacks. I was trying to beat these guys at tackling the run. So that's what I remember. That's for me when I first got here, I walked into a buzzsaw of competitive people from the defensive side. Nobody was like, oh, finally we got someone here. It was almost like they were pissed off that I was here because they felt like they weren't like, what we need this guy to be to get where we're at. And I mean, they reminded me every single day, we're the number 1 run defense. And I'm like, yeah, You guys suck at getting to the quarterback, though. So, geez, and Kevin did a pretty good job. But that's what I remember. That's for me when I look back of what my photo imprint of the Vikings. It's when I first came here, and it was that embracing of him, of Pat and Kevin, and it really, and then getting into the defense, then Ben and EJ and Chad. I mean, and Antoine. Antoine got the foot into our front seven, but I mean, I'll be honest, we didn't care who the back end was. We loved Antoine because Antoine could hit. And he could cover his butt up, so he was my best friend. But, I mean, we got here. It was like, we're going to handle everything in this front seven, and you need to get on board with that. And it drove me to a new level because, I mean, you were constantly, when you're trying to be the best in your room, you're not worried about being the best on the team. You're not worried about being best in the league. I mean, you're fighting every single day just to be the best in your room and not get cussed out on film.
Are you actually really good at Yahtzee?
Yeah, I dominate. I mean, I'm not a gambler, but I Yahtzee. We get after it. We got that Yahtzee gets intense, right? You know, if you're trying to like thumb roll some dice, yeah, Yahtzee got intense. That was a great way to kill the time, you know, especially when Brad. You wouldn't let us. We all had to stay in the dorm. I tried to pitch for RVs at training camp. I brought it one year. The coaches took over my RV. That sucked. But yeah, Yahtzee was legit.
Jared, who was the best pass rush mentor you ever had? Why?
Man, so Derek Thomas, and he's not even from the grave. I try to learn something from everybody that I've watched film on, and sometimes you got to learn what not to do too, right? Like I had to learn my second year never to watch a Dwight Freeney Mathis film. I tried to throw a spin move my second year, and I almost got cut from the Chiefs. Bob Carmelowitz, God rest his soul, he called me Gumby. He said, Gumby, if you ever throw another effing spin move again, unless you're getting chipped, you are out of here. And I was like, okay. And he banned me from watching Dwight Freeney film or anybody that spun. But Derek Thomas, when you go to the Chiefs, and you're a pass rusher, that is a big shadow you live under. And so I wanted to honor him by being better than him. And I watched countless hours of his film. I learned how to get off the ball. I could never understand how he was so fast off the ball until I realized by asking questions to other people, he never watched the ball. He watched the quarterback's hands, right? So 99% of all, unless you're Peyton Manning, he's the only one that will drop his hands on a hard count. Every quarterback drops his hands right before he asks for the ball. So I always got off on the quarterback's hands. And so even if I was offsides, I was never offsides. You guys can go back and watch that. They drop their hands, that's on them. So him, Leslie O'Neal was another guy I watched a ton of film on. I couldn't do some of the things like Leslie and especially you look at guys like Neil Smith, Leslie O'Neal, Reggie White, and Johnny Randall. They can get vertical and they can throw a hump move that will, absolutely decimate people. I couldn't do that, right? I just didn't have that ability in me to throw that vicious hump move. So what I would take from them is I was learning how to get body position, right? I'm learning how do I get off the ball? How do I get a body position, take airspace away from these guys, and then use what I am good at, leverage and technique and using my length to out leverage these guys and dump them. So Dolman was another guy. I got to meet Dolman later in my career, but I just loved my conversations with him. He had that same mentality. He was willing to do anything and everything to get to the quarterback, and I really respected that. I just respected him as a person. And so yeah, those are probably some of my biggest ones. And then my current, I watched a lot of Julius Peppers film. A lot of DeMarcus Ware film, because when you're playing guys, you want to find guys that you are similar to. Jason Taylor is another guy I watched a lot of film on, but I would say those first few are the ones that were most impactful when I was young.
Jared, what are you most proud of your time with the Vikings?
I think it's my relationships. It kills me that we didn't get to a Super Bowl, because I really do feel like in 2009, if we go to the Super Bowl, we're hands down winning it. That we would probably be arguably one of the best teams in the NFL. That was a special year, but I think it's the ability to come in from the circumstances I came in with the Chiefs from, to be the highest paid defensive player in NFL history, to have all these picks given up, and not let that pressure tank me. You know what I mean? I think and to be able to come in and add value to an already really good team, but more so to take value from all, like I talked about, from the Pats, from the Kevin, from the Ben, and to have a run. Defensively, I think we were at least 3 out of the first 4 years, we were top 1 or 2 against the run. We were constantly in the top of defense. So I think look at it it's just growth, and not even in that. And in my personal life, I'm a firm believer God puts you where you need to be when you need to be. I met some amazing men in that Minnesota locker room, and that helped. You can not only emulate how you want to be as a football player, but as a human being as well. Great husbands, great fathers, and at the end of the day, to me, that's 10 times more important than anything we ever do on the football field. And so those are my greatest memories here, because statistics, they're going to come and go. Someone's going to beat them all the time, right? Those memories, those lessons you learn are what really sticks the test or stands the test of time.
Jared, you mentioned coaching your kids volleyball. I guess, what does this mean to your family, and can you play the Hall of Fame part at home? Nope. I was literally doing yard chores yesterday. I'm falling behind in them today. Nobody cares. They're like, Dad, my dad's somewhat cool, whatever. So it is cool because my kids were young, and not all of us had teenagers like Pat when we were playing. Pat's kids were going to prom when we were playing. I'm like, what? He's the oldest human being in the NFL. I don't know how this is possible. And so I had kids later in life. And so I think for me, it's cool to. I was just telling somebody. So the old St. Louis. I was in St. Louis for a club tournament a couple weekends ago, right after the Super Bowl, and my daughter got to play at the old St. Louis Dome in the stadium. That's the convention center there. That was kind of cool. But for them, no, I'm dad. But it's for. So I guess for now, them to come look back on things that they don't quite remember. I'm assuming it's cool for them. Maybe it's not. They got more friends. Maybe, I don't know. The young boys are still mean, and they say Josh Allen's a better player than me. So I get mistaken for Josh Allen a lot. Literally at the Super Bowl, the guy was like, "Josh Allen, here, gave me his keys," and I'm like, "No, but what room number is that?" He makes more money. That's going on his breakfast is on Josh Allen today. So no, the Hall of Fame card doesn't go far at all at home. And I'm not, and I'm like a very glorified like intern volleyball coach, but I'm not above spiking on little kids.
Well, you've had some of the pageantry that comes along with Hall of Fame, but what was it like to come into the building today and see your picture next to the other Vikings Hall of Famers?
That was cool. And Tom, like, casually we walk by and he just stands there and like twiddles his thumb, and then he's like, "You like that?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So it's very anticlimactic. It's very like, oh, okay, it's just there. I love history, right? And so for me, it's not about me being on that wall. Is again, and you'll probably get redundant at how many times I say it. It's sharing that space with guys like Randall. It's sharing that space with guys like Dolman. It's sharing that space with former teammates and Hutchinson and Randy, and the greatness that has these hallowed halls. And to be a D lineman, the amount of tradition we have here for D linemen, like honestly, again, you're just trying not to be the guy to screw it up. You don't come into your career and say, "I'm trying to get a gold jacket." Ben nailed it. You play for I play for the respect of my peers and the respect of those who played before me. I tell people all the time, I got an email from Jack Youngblood one time, and he just telling me, it was very brief, and I don't even know how he got my email address. He must be the CIA or something. But it was years ago, and he just thanked me for playing the game the right way. That right there, I'm good. I don't need Pro Bowls. I don't need anything. That right there, 100%. If I can go talk to Randall and have a genuine conversation with him, and he doesn't think I'm a complete scrub of a player, I'm sold. Good, right? You know what I mean? And that's the truth. I want to honor those who I think did it the right way. And I hope someday some kid will try to do the same and pass that down. But I think if you play for the respect of your peers and the respect of those before you, then you're giving everything you got, right? You're going to do it the right way. The fans are going to appreciate it because they're spending hard-earned money to come watch us play. And at the end of the day, if you're chasing dollars and you're chasing numbers, eventually that motivation runs out, right? So what do you authentically play? What do you really drives you to play? So I don't even remember what the question was, but that was my rant.
Being a historian, who are you? And you can mention a lot of names and stories and sharing with guys like at the Super Bowl and so forth.
who's the one person that you're maybe most in awe of that you're actually, alongside now?
Oh, that's hard to say. Because I don't know everybody who's in the Hall of Fame. I don't know I don't know all 382. I gotta go. I gotta read the list. Man, the ones I know, that's a tough one. Like I said, I look back to the guys I got to meet. I got to meet Butkus. That was cool. I got to meet Ditka. Again, I have a connection with Johnny. Or with Randall, sorry, and Johnny. So many Randalls. And, but you see, so seeing Johnny down there was cool, right? Because again, you go to the Vikings, just D-line history, Allen and Carl, I've been, those are guys I'd be in awe of, right? But I got to know them while I was here. So guys I haven't met yet, my goodness. That's going to be a tough one. Bruce Smith, I haven't met Bruce Smith yet. So I think that would be kind of cool to meet Bruce, just because, to play 20 years and average 10 sacks a year, that's insane. That's absolutely insane. But yeah, I don't know. I'm sure someone will hit me when I'm there. Again, the young bloods, I think a lot of it too, it's just, I think when you get there, you're going to see the Unituses of the world, right? It's just it's that whole other side. I got to talk with Champ Bailey, big Champ Bailey fan when I was down there. That was cool. Alan Faneca looks like a quarterback now, so that was cool to see. Hutch tuning out me. I'm just shredding over here. Start Tyboing. I don't know. Now you got me thinking. I don't know. I'll have to get back to you on the exact list. But again, I think it's kind of just a totality of being in that room. And because I put an emphasis on relationships, I've been very blessed to get to see and actually meet a lot of guys that I'm already in awe with. One of the greatest things, back to your original question, you say, like, what are some of my first memories here? When we first won in 2008, when we hung the division title, Jim Marshall came into practice, and we sat there after practice one day, and we're talking for a while, and he just told me, he pointed up at the banners, he said, that's all that matters. It's all your job is to hang banners, right? He goes, that lasts forever. Those will always be there. And so moments like that. So hopefully I get to have some more of those moments with a bunch of people. I got to meet Zach Thomas. That was cool. So yeah, I don't know. All of them. I don't know. Can I meet all of them? Can I geek out on all of them?
Sure, you did touch on this a little bit, but just with the history and like with the Purple People Eaters when you came here, first, I guess, were you aware of that legacy and what was it like to be here and to get to meet like those guys, Carl and Alan, for the first time?
Oh, absolutely. I think it was, I knew exactly who they were. It was awesome to meet them. I think, and then to me, what was the coolest part is like learning the depth of Alan Page. That dude should be citizen of the century. And then Carl Eller, I'm still afraid of him. Still. Oh, I'm like, goodness, that dude's a monster. He could probably still go out and get 5 sacks. And then, like I said, Jim Marshall, just such a genuine person. Getting to meet them. But I think our job when we came in, we joked, we had shirts made up. We were the outlaws, right? Because we get fined a lot. We had a lot of fines. I think we pushed like a couple $100,000 worth of fines in our room one year from the NFL. But I wanted to be better than them. You're never going to erase them. They're pro players. But I wanted people to talk about myself, Pat, and Kevin, and I think we did a good job when Ray Edwards was the guy that no one really knew of, and he was still averaging 40 tackles and 8 sacks a year. We were smashing people up front and literally choking them out. And again, Pat, I'll tell you guys a funny story about Pat, and even though this is just a news conference, but I'm going to throw Pat on the bus. We were playing, but this is why we were so good up front. We were playing the Titans, and we lost that game, which sucked. But Pat grabbed Lindell White by the neck and body slammed him. Pat used to get people and just throw his 330 on the. I told Pat today he's a dinosaur because nose tackles don't exist anymore; they're extinct. And Pat threw him on there. And again, unless you know Pat, unless you speak Pat or have Google Translate, you don't know what he's saying. But he's choking Lindell White out and cussing him out at the same time and like bouncing his head off the turf. And I'm laughing, and Linda's like, what did I do to you? And he doesn't even know what Pat's saying. But we were losing the game, and Pat was going to be damned if he gave up a yard of that rush game. He was like, you are not getting 1 yard, and I'm going to choke you out the entire time doing it. And that was our mentality. That was what we wanted to be. We wanted to be the fiercest, nastiest front four you could be. And that was all to pay respect for the guys who did it before us.
What was your reaction to being called Gumby the first time? How did you shake that one before you got here?
Oh, I embraced it. I'm flexible. My wife would probably say the same thing. She says I'm the most clumsiest athlete she's ever seen. Constantly hurting myself. No, Bob would call me Gumby because I could bend, right? And that's what he tell me. You can bend. You're flexible. Use it. Bob and I had an interesting relationship my first 2 years, and then he was like my best friend. And you go back to why I got 16. So they gave me 69 out of college, and there was another fat old lineman that had a 69, and I was just like, oh, tight. I have to share a number with somebody, and so I'm like, no, but definitely one of us. Can only be one of us, so I can't get cut for this guy. And I was like, this is a gross number. I was number 41, which isn't even that much of a better number in college. But yeah, it's a terrible number. But I was number 1 in high school. And then my best friend who passed away when I was in high school, he was 45. And so my college thought they were doing me a favor by combining them. So I kept 41. And nowadays you can be any number. Thanks to the NFL, you can be 0. So they gave me 69. And I was like, this sucks. They gave me an old lineman number. They're definitely cutting me. And so I make the team, and Bob Carmelos and our equipment guy came up to me and said, hey, you want to change the number? You want a 90s number now? And Bob said, Bob had a raspy voice. I said, you're an old school player. That's an old school number. You keep it and you make it cool. And I was like, all right. And I just wanted to play. So I was like, if my coach tells me to keep the number, I'm going to keep it. Next thing you know, it stuck.
Is there the next step in this? Do you feel the opportunity or an obligation to be the kind of mentor those guys were for you? Because the guys are going to be upstairs for the next generation.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just you can't force it, right? My phone, anybody can call me anytime. Yeah, I want to reach out, more than happy to. That's one thing I've never been afraid of is teaching people. I try to tell my kids, there's 2 types of people, right? There's people that egotistical, boastful, that's a false confidence, right? It's people that don't want other people to get on the field because they're afraid they're going to take their job. Then there's people that are actually confident in their skill set. And I'll teach you everything you need. And I tell all the young guys all the time, you got 3 weeks every year in training camp to beat me out of my job. But when you don't, know your role. Take it to the back and do your job, because now we're here to win games. But for 3 weeks a year, let's get it. Let's come take my job. But if you can't, shut your mouth, go learn. And that's the approach we took. So I had no problem teaching guys. I had no problem passing that on, because guys did it to me. Right? And if you're confident in your skill set, and if you're confident in your preparation, if you're confident in your ability, you want competition. That's how I got better. I had a 9-year vet ahead of me my rookie year in Bonnie Holiday. I had Eric Hicks on the other side, right? And Chiefs were coming off 13-3. I had first round draft pick inside with Ryan Sims was on that line coming from North Carolina. John Browning, probably the most underrated 3-technique /end to ever play. So I had great guys that same way. They allowed me to compete with them. And I'll never forget. I tell this anytime I can. I sing Vonnie's praises, because Vonnie called me. I got my first start going into week 6 against the Colts, and I get a call from Vonnie that day, and he said, "Hey, your tape's hotter than mine. You got my job." He said, "You're starting." He said, "Don't ever give it back to me." He goes, "But no, every single day I'm going to try to take it from you." And I respected the heck out of him for that. And I kept that mentality. I kept that in the back of my mind, that there's always someone chasing you. But yeah, if you're the type of guy that's going to just isolate and hold off, you're just afraid, right? If you're truly confident, if you're truly good at what you do, then you absolutely want to bring that next tier up.
Jared, can you talk about your relationship with the fans, because they bought into you and Kevin and never since the get-go?
Oh yeah, we fooled them. We tricked the fans. I got a letter. I'm like going down memory lane, but a lot of things spark my behaviors. I'm not an original thought in my head. I'm not that smart. I appreciate someone, McCarthy, telling me I'm intelligent. Thank you, Mike. No, I got a letter one time from a fan in back when I used to read fan mail. Every rookie read fan mail until you realize that was a complete, utter, that was a roll of the dice right there. You read fan mail, it could be You could be, it's like mean tweets before there was mean tweets, right? So I read a letter from a guy, and he was telling me how he makes $500 a week, right? And he spends like $550 a week on his season tickets. My first thought was quit going to the games because you're going broke, right? Watch them on TV, they're free. But it struck me as whatever that 3 hours is for that guy, it was worth everything he made for that week, right? For that football season, his entire paycheck was worth whatever outlet that was, whatever stress relief, whatever that distraction was for him. So who am I who's making a very good wage, playing a game that I loved since I was a little kid, doing capturing my American dream? Who was I not to go out there and give it everything I had and make sure that the people paying their hard-earned money to come watch me play didn't understand that and feel that I was appreciative of them, right? Like that I'm enjoying what I'm doing. No one wants to go watch something that you're like, oh, you're excited to go, and the players are duds, right? Or they just suck. It's like going to a boxing match and dude gets knocked out in the first round. Like, did you even train? Like, what the heck? So that was the philosophy I took, and I knew I wouldn't have a job if it wasn't for the fans. And so that's the approach I took. And again, I try to be authentic in everything I do. And when it makes it easy when you got authentic people throughout a locker room, right? And everybody's out there with that same mentality. Everybody loves their job. When you love what you do, I think it translates to the fans very well.
What do you think of the current team? 14 wins, improved defensively.
I love it. I was a fan. I was like, getting yelled at for things I said in the media before the season. I was telling, I was like, Kevin is the greatest ever. I'm like, we don't have a quarterback, but then all of a sudden we're 14-2, and I was on the hype train all the way. We were waving bandana. I went to 3 games this year. I went to London. I flew to London. I was fangirling at Kevin in Nashville. I was talking to his parents. I'm like, that's Coach O'Connell. Girls, yeah, Coach, that's Coach. Can I touch your blazer, Coach? No, I'm a huge fan. I love it. Coach Flores is crushing. I'm not going to lie. I wish I was more athletic, Coach. I know he's in the back there. Playing in his defense would be fun. Pat and I don't fit in that defense whatsoever. We are not a chance. I'm like, everybody's like, you could do Ginkle's job. I'm like, nope. I would blow a hamstring out. I would trip on myself. I would fall over trying to stand up. That doesn't work for me. Can't backdoor in this defense, Coach. And that's all Pat was good at. Pat backdoor the son of a gun. That could get down the line with the best of them. I like it. Honestly, I like the fight the guys have. I know it wasn't the ending we wanted. Here's what I most appreciate. No joke, all joking aside, and even the coaches are here. I'm seeing it without them being here. I love when I watch it as a player. You can tell the guys have fun and guys about it. So many guys will go, whenever you see a player leave that's been great and drops off, 99.9% of the time is coaching. Because their routine changes, right? That element changes. Someone's trying to force them to fit their mold, right? I never forget when I went to Chicago. I know. It's hard to say out loud. It was chaotic, right? It was a mess because they're trying to play 3-4 style in a 4-3 front. Like, it was absolute chaotic, right? So your whole program's thrown off, your routines are thrown off. So what I can say is you can tell the coaching staff here doesn't have an ego. Right? You have your system, which is great. But anytime you see guys that can come in from other systems in free agency and immediately thrive, it's because it's an environment built for success. It's a coaching staff that understands we need to put them in a position to have success so we can have success, and not the other way around. Right? So many times coaches say, this is our model, this is how we play, this is how we do it, get on board or get out. Right? And that's that you can tell by watching that the culture's not here, so it's fun. It's fun to watch, right? It's fun to see, Gennard and these guys just getting after the quarterback. It's fun to see, Harrison still thriving. Like, I hope that dude plays another 2-3 years. Like, it's fun to watch, and it draws you in. And I think that's, as a fan, go back to the fan question, that's what makes people fans, is when you see a genuine love from people that can operate at a high level, and then you see that throughout a system, you see that throughout an entire organization, right? And so that. Yeah, it's great. I'm excited where the team's going to go. I like to pretend, I'll text Kevin, hey, Kevin, you're at the combine. Hey, check this guy out. Hey, Quasi. No, to me, it's awesome. And I love the organization for allowing me to have, just be able to go chat and talk ball and come in and have freedom to come throughout the organization, because that's not like it at every organization. I'll be honest, if I walked into the Chiefs organization right now, they'd probably be like, excuse me, who are you, sir? You cannot go to that wing. Back to the back. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited where we go. We're close. And again, I'll state the obvious. We've been close for a long time, right? The next hurdle in the Vikings organization is how do we get there? And that's just the truth. But the reality is, too, only one team gets there every year, right? So if you're not close, I'd rather be close than freaking who sucks, the Jets? Oh, gosh. Being the Jets would be miserable right now. I just can't believe anybody took that job. Rough one. So you get to say this stuff when you're retired. You can say whatever you want. It's awesome. Talk bad about all the organizations because they don't pay paychecks. It's awesome. What else you got for me? That was it. All right, there we go. You guys got news feeds for weeks. At least one cycle.